Oh boy, it's that time to shit on my favorite frame again. However, this time we'll be solely focused on the new ability that was introduced in Vauban's previous changes, Minelayer. The fecal matter that is Tesla I will talk about in another video, as well as Vauban's passive. Regardless, let's start with good old bounce. With the introduction of Parkour 2.0, bounce's purpose as a quick way to ascend to a surface or high floor has become null and void. Quite literally any warframe can reach greater heights than bounce offers by simply bullet jumping, rendering bounce useful only for the magnetic proc it provides. Even then, the proc can only apply to 4 enemies total, a number so small I'd rather use Vortex over bounce. Although Vortex does not guarantee a magnetic proc, at the very least it guarantees that all the enemies will be gathered in one nice and neat body pile. So how do you fix bounce? Simple. Replace it with something else. Super Jump was removed from Excalibur when Parkour 2.0 was released, and it was replaced by Radial Javelin, which had its slot taken by Exalted Blade. Because the changes made Excalibur a much better warframe to play as, nobody really complained. Bounce here is a different story. Opinions fluctuate between two sides. The bounce needs to go side, and the bounce should stay because it's fun and useful on interception side. I will admit that bounce is useful because of its consistent magnetic proc, but otherwise, I lean more towards the bounce can go to hell party. While I personally do want bounce to go, the only aspect of it that I want to keep is the guaranteed magnetic proc. Due to that, I have a proposed replacement ability for bounce. Impair. Impair behaves the exact same way as Shred or Concuss. It's thrown down like a mine and remains there until duration runs down or it's activated. What Impair does is simple. Once triggered, it applies a magnetic proc on all enemies in a 7-meter radius. In addition, all non-robotic enemies are knocked down, and all robotic enemies are staggered. The purpose of Impair is to allow a reliable magnetic proc to remain with Vauban, while granting minor CC against any enemy, regardless of faction. The problem with bounce is that the CC it provides is a repulsion, something which is only useful when you want to keep an enemy away, such as in defense or interception. Impair keeps the magnetic proc but replaces the repulsion with a stagger or knockdown, ensuring that afflicted enemies remain in place for killing. Next we have Trip Laser. Trip Laser is nothing more than a gimmick. The only legitimate use for Trip Laser is against the infested, because most infested enemies just blindly run at you due to being melee instead of ranged like the Corpus or Grenier. Trip Laser comes across to me as a non-lethal Tesla link, something which I like and dislike due to the stun, knockdown it provides, and due to it dealing no damage on its own. However, due to Trip Laser being somewhat ineffective to non-infested enemies, and due to Impair already providing a knockdown and stagger, I propose another ability to replace Trip Laser. Lethargy. Lethargy is a mine just like Shred, Concuss, or Impair. However, unlike Shred, Concuss, or Impair, Lethargy's effect will linger for a duration. Upon activation, Lethargy releases a gas in a 12-meter range, which remains for 16 seconds. Enemies have their movement and attack speed gradually slowed up to a cap of 80%, and all enemies take gas damage so long as they stay inside. In other words, the longer an enemy stays inside a lethargy cloud, the more they will be slowed, up to a cap of 80%, all while taking gas damage. Lethargy is intended to slow down enemy advancement, much like Trip Laser, but in a larger area and with much more prevalent effects. This can make Lethargy especially useful in corridors and tight hallways where enemies are concentrated on running in the same direction. Now for Shred. I want to like Shred. I really do. However, there's a lot of things that hold Shred back from being great. For starters, the base armor reduction and debuff duration are low, coming in at 40% armor reduction and 4 seconds respectively. What's more is that Shred also ragdolls the debuffed enemies for whatever reason, meaning that at 100% power duration, you have 4 seconds to, hopefully, either shoot every enemy out of the air, or reach them in time before the debuff ends. To improve Shred, I would advise that its base debuff duration be increased to 8 seconds, that being the same debuff duration as Concuss. In addition, I would also suggest that the base armor reduction be increased to at least 50%. More than 60% would be overpowered for sure. Also, while I do find the ragdoll from Shred to be annoying when it comes to killing armor-shredded enemies, I wouldn't mind it as much if the armor-shred debuff had a longer duration, because 4 seconds is simply too short. If Shred cannot have its armor reduction and duration buffed, it can at least have its ragdoll removed and replaced with a brief stun, in order to make it a bit easier to dispatch shredded enemies. I would very much rather use Sharpened Claws on my Cavat, because even though Sharpened Claws only works on one enemy at a time, at the very least the affected enemy has all their armor removed for a longer duration than Shred, while also dealing more damage. Hell, I imagine that the reason why the Axtito Prime do so well with a corrosive build is to give players an alternate way to better melt enemy armor. So that's Minelayer in a nutshell: one awesome ability, one decent ability, one gimmick, and one piece of shit that should burn in hell along with super jump. Thank you for watching.